Okay, let's take a look at these beautiful cards. This is how I've chosen to keep my deck. I found this lovely little keychain with wonderful little bells on it. It felt very witchy and pagany to me. There's even a pentagram. Can you see that little pentacle thing there? And a nice brown shiny bag. This is what the backs of the cards look like. They are navy blue with this lovely gold stuff on the back. It's all in gold. You have the four of the animals that she uses throughout the suits to represent the four elements and the four suits, with a beautiful pentacle union, like we said before, of all the elements under spiritual control, spiritual mastery. You have alchemical symbols here for each of the seasons. That's what those guys are. And I chose to edge my deck in a gold. I think I just used a regular gold Sharpie for this, because it matched the gold color on the backs really well, I thought. Okay, here is our beautiful Fool card. Isn't the artwork just yummy? It really is. A light in there. It really is beautiful. So you have your Fool here, sort of very Rider-Waite-Smith, stepping off the edge of a cliff, looking up. On his bag is that circle symbol, but it's not the monad symbol, not yet. There's no dot in the center. It simply is just a circle as he leaps off the cliff into the abyss, off into the worlds of duality, sun and moon. Simple, natural representations of these things. And he's stepping out into the worlds of form. Form and force, or feminine and masculine, god and goddess, yin and yang, animus and anima, you know? It's, well, they're not all necessarily talking about the same things, light and dark, like form does not automatically equal feminine per se, you know, but we're always talking about two sides of a coin. I love that there's a snake, too, sort of wound about his traveling pack staff here, and the classic feather in his cap. Here is your magician. There is so much cool stuff going on. Like, it's very recognizable. It's very much our classic magician with a lot of the same classic symbolism. He has all, it's hard to see there. He's got the wand in his hand and a cup, a pentacle, and a sword. On his altar there. Down below, I feel like almost in place of what a lemniscate would represent, we have a snake shedding its skin. This perpetual renewal, this infinity. The same stance as above, so below. And he's got a symbol on his garment here, a symbol of Mercury. As the magician is often represented as Mercury or Thoth or Hermes, right? He's the divine messenger. He's the one who takes from above and creates down below. He is, which is why it's another reason why I really love this simple symbol of a lightning bolt up there, sort of reminiscent of the Tower card, where above acts on below. That's what lightning is, this fire from the sky striking the world below. It's a beautiful metaphor. One more symbol is on there, right on his chest there. Oh, it's hard to see. I can't hold still. It is a symbol of the Philosopher's Stone, sort of an alchemical symbol. And it looks like this. Let's use this side. It's a square. It's a triangle, the circle inside of a circle. My bad version of a Philosopher's Stone, the Phosphorus Stone, the Fiery Stone. It is the goal of the great work that we have set upon in this card, in the Magus Magician card. So in the symbol you have the circle or infinity, right? Spirit. You have the square, the finite, the physical, the natural, the body. And then you have the triangle, right? The trinity, the bridge between the two. There's a lot to even be said here about, the squaring of the circle, which is sort of the process that you're even undertaking in the alchemical process. But basically it's a symbol of unity with consciousness, unity consciousness. And it's the goal. And I love that it is expressed here on the chest of the magician. Mercury, Hermes, you know, he's the divine messenger, right? He also has a lot to do with like language and words and communication, and at the heart of it, right? It has to do, if he's the messenger, what message is being relayed. He's taking what is above this, from the spiritual intelligence above, and relaying it below through his words, through his vibration, through his control of the elements to create. And that's the magician. Okay, this is one of my favorite cards. This may be my favorite card in the entire deck. Check out this amazing High Priestess. I think I remember hearing a lot of people sort of put off by the fact that she doesn't have a face, but she is, you know, she's our veiled High Priestess. I think having a utterly black egg-like stone face is so beautiful. I love that it's one of my favorite things too. There's, like I said, there's some runes throughout the deck that I love. But there's Perthro runes on each of her two columns here, her light and her dark. Perthro meaning luck, but really the unknown, and fate and Orlog. It's the mysteries themselves is what's represented by the Perthro rune. So it's incredibly appropriate here in her columns, at the gateway of the temple, here at the veil. So the darkness, the literally black stone face of the High Priestess here reminded me a lot of the Oswald Worth deck, where you see the High Priestess and the Fool have much darker skin than the rest of the archetypes on the cards in the major arcana. And I think that it's an interesting way to express this idea that that like this is the darkness through which like life passes. Like this is the gestation through this darkness of this new life, or this new idea, like the baby represents here. The baby really is the Empress and all her light on the next card here. But I like that it's shown in a darker sort of way here. The Empress is sort of like the child of the High Priestess. She passes through her dark worlds and into light. And the Empress, being a 3, becomes this formative energy of love. I feel like the dark egg, even, of her face, it's like an egg that is being cooked, it's being hatched. You can think of the thought process this way. That initial thought with the magician needs to go through this gestational period, this turning inward that you find in the High Priestess. And then in her lap here, you have this book. I like to think of it as a book of knowledge, but it's also sort of this Akashic records, right? It's how to it's a record of everything that has ever happened and ever will happen, and how to create in the first place. This is the power that she holds in her lap. It's a paradox of information. And you have these beautiful sort of classic pomegranates on the background of her little veil there between the pillars. Anyway, there is our Empress, who holds another rune, right, on her heart-shaped shield here. But the rune that is here is often shown like this too. Ingus can be represented, Ingus or Ingwas, both ways is whatever. As like that sort of DNA looking shape, or I can't draw it today. That's supposed to be more like a diamond or a square turned on its side, sort of a shape. And it's representative of seed, and the creation process and creativity in general. It can have to do with, isolating or pulling inward in order to then expand outward again and transform and become And it has to do with, you know, this growth and potential energy. And it even sort of can encompass this life and this birth, life, death, the rebirth, the entire cycle, and its inherent sacrifices. But I feel like it's on here, you know, for all that, but especially this creation idea. I love that she is just green with fertility and growth and just abundance. She's got a cross and a circle up here, as we saw before. This is in creation, spirit and matter. She's wearing a beautiful, like the classic empress, a starry diadem or tiara or crown, which is also made of wheat. And very classically, she's still holding a scepter. And there's pomegranates all over her dress. Pomegranates are on a lot of these cards, actually. Oh, we'll talk more about them when we get to the Justice card, actually. Okay, this is one of my favorite cards, too. How amazing is this Emperor? Very often I find Emperor cards to be a bit cold, but there is something about this stag Emperor that makes you just want to, like, sit on his lap and tell him what you want for Christmas. He is very earthy and warm. He still has these classic sort of ram's heads on the back of his tree throne here. His fields are ablaze behind him also. No, it's his fiery power. Still got all this Aries fire associations, like the bull, that the bulls are also on both the Empress and the Emperor. Very cool. He's even got a Tibetan dorji, a symbol of thunderbolts, right? Like right above his head, just like the magician had. Love. Very powerful. Next up we have the Heirophant, who I think makes some people uncomfortable how cold and stoic the Heirophant appears. They definitely went, I don't know, a bit more towards the negative, maybe not the negative, but the traditional sort of older meaning of the card, which I think is still perfectly valid, but that of being sort of enslaved to or by, cultural rules, society's rules and traditions, whether they be cultural, religious, government sort of ideas, institutions, those kind of things. There's even the all-seeing eye there with the bee over there, like Big Brother is watching, and he looks very, very popey. He's scary with his whip and everything. But the thing that I really love about this card is the coloration of the two people down here. They're very much like Empress and Emperor here. They're bowing. They're on their knees in front of him. But she's, by their coloration and the fact that she's hiding this crescent moon behind her back and the fact that she's bright green, but even though they seem to be in a submissive sort of pose just by their coloration and things, she's embracing her fertility and her creativity and him, his wild, fiery power. I don't know, it's like they're still going after their passions in the face of the Pope, all while kneeling at the feet of the Pope. So it's really saying, you work within the world, but when necessary, you do you. I love it. I think it's a very, even though it's still so recognizable as the Heirophant or the Pope card, but it's just presenting things interestingly. I like this deck upon first glance. It's like, and the more you get into it, there's a lot of good stuff here. Here is number 6, your Lover's card, and another rune. It's a Gabo rune, or Gifu, and it's a gift, but it also really represents more so an exchange, a union, a partnership, even a sacrifice, and the sacred marriage. It's a very appropriate symbol to have there. I love that there's isn't necessarily a Cupid or an angel up here. You have a classic heart around the Gabo rune, but you also have this beautiful rainbow, which is symbolic of exactly what angels are symbolic of. This sort of message from above down below. You know, it's the bridge between the two worlds is what an angel and a rainbow is. And I like that there's sort of this classic pagan and or Wiccan like hand fasting ritual going on, an altar behind them. There's even an apple split open back there, revealing its sort of five-pointed star imagery inside of it. And they're even expressing the two sides of duality here again, right, with his red fiery robes and her cool, watery, bluish robes. Up next, we have our beautiful Chariot card, which, oh my god, how cool is that? I absolutely adore this card. They actually use the symbolism of the lotus flower quite a bit throughout the deck. And I love that. Again, it's this sort of natural things as symbols I like. But what does the lotus flower represent? It's purity, it's rebirth, it's beauty. And that's all because they bloom from like dirty, muddy water. So it's sort of like saying there's light and beauty from darkness and chaos. And I love how they're just riding way up above over the earth, you know. Gorgeous. Up next is our Strength card. Strength is still number 8 here. And it's a very peaceful interaction, I feel like, between the lion and the woman. Something I hear a lot of people complain about, like seeing the woman like forcing the lion into anything. This is they have a mutual respect for each other here, and they're working together very clearly. There's a really interesting thing sort of going on in the background here. Can you see that? There is this fire here with an egg in it, sort of bursting open and like just letting all its light out. It's this in this little island here, and these frogs and these snakes are all going to it. They're actually bringing things from the land, it looks like, too, like bringing twigs and things to feed this fire. I feel like they're all sort of under the control of the woman here. With her wand, she's directing this to happen. So you still have all the classic sort of meaning associated with the Strength card here, with this beautiful interaction, this taming of your animal self, right? Sort of exemplifying this personal transformation and this self-mastery, this owning of your own power and tapping into the universal power is what results, and even how you go about it. Gorgeous card. Very cool. You do have sort of a classic hermit card here, but beautiful, just blowing in the breeze. There's like moons behind everything too. There's a crescent moon back there and this gnarly old tree. He doesn't necessarily have a lantern. He has a candle in his hands guiding him, but also down here on his belt, besides his keys, which I love, he has an hourglass, sort of a throwback to that Father Time idea, which I think is still to this day a part of the Hermit card. Moving on to number 10, the Wheel of Fortune. What you see here is the same that you see on the back of the cards in the World card. There's two different versions. They're just two different versions of alchemical symbols for each of the seasons. You have spring, fall, winter, and summer. They're just alchemical symbols for that. I love how the wheel is like a wheel of Dharma, a Dharma chakra. Half in darkness and half in light. And the animals here, well, two of them are labeled. You have the snake as Apep, and you have this sort of dog over here as Set. And up above, instead of a sphinx, you have a blindfolded monkey who's really just sitting above the wheel, and his hand is touching it. He's touching it at the sign of Aries, which I think is very interesting too. Like, he's this fiery sort of spirit. And also at the bottom too, there is a little lovely triple goddess, maiden, mother, crone, cycles of life and death symbol. And around the entirety of the wheel are all the symbols of the zodiac. And even at the center of the wheel here, you have a pentagram, a symbol of man. So you have Apep, the snake, going down the wheel, and coming up the wheel here, you have the dog Set. who in Egyptian mythology, by the way, is the one who chops up Osiris into little bits and scatters them around so Isis can pick up the pieces and put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I like that he's sort of straddling the light and the dark here. It's just indicative of that entire story and that journey. You know, how we're sort of torn apart in matter and we feel separate and separated. And it is Isis, it is our internal goddess, our higher self, who can put all of our pieces back together. I like to think of this monkey, blindfolded monkey up here. I think he's supposed to be a baboon. It looks to me like one. Am I right? Is that a baboon who's like cheesily grinning at us? But baboons are symbols of Thoth, so sort of like to see or think of think of that monkey up there as Thoth spinning the wheel. You know, where the Sphinx atop can often represent higher self, who brings the elements under control, under their control. But he spins the wheel of fate here, and where it stops or where it will fall, no one knows. Crazy monkey. He's sort of like fate itself, spinning the wheel of fortune. All right, up next we have the beautiful Justice card, and you even see sort of a little bitty wheel of fortune up there, a wheel of Dharma. In this case, sort of representing karma, I suppose, on the Justice card, because like I said, it doesn't really talk about the symbols in the book. We are sort of on our own. But what I see here, and I really enjoy, I feel like this is very Grecian, of course. You have her two columns, and it looks to me like this could be like Persephone over here and Hades over here, the two light and dark sides of the year, these two polar opposites, life and death. She's holding in her her right hand, her active hand. She's got the scales. She's balancing the scales of justice and karma. Karma in the sense of finding balance, not necessarily in the sense of, you're going to get what you deserve, you reap what you sow, that sort of thing. Although I guess the two ideas really are connected. And then in her left hand here, which is a skeletal hand, can you see that? She's holding a pomegranate again, excuse me, which is so perfect, it's Persephone's pomegranate. I sort of wonder if this is supposed to be like Demeter with her wheat wreath, mother of Persephone, or Persephone, or just alluding to the story itself. But anyway, yeah, a pomegranate, like you also saw on some of the other cards, like the High Priestess and the Empress, but the pomegranate being a symbol of Persephone and the underworld and balancing, or a balancing of life and death. Beautiful Justice card. Okay, here's one of my favorites, and not just because there's runes all over it. If you were anything like me, you first got this deck and you were like, cool, he's like suspended, this is really neat, there's runes, it's alluding to this sacrifice on the tree and Odin, and there's, a half dark sky and a half light sky, and then the more you look at it, you're like, wait a second, this entire image is reversed. Look at the bottom of the card here. There's growth in the tree, there's leaves, and then if you look at the top of the card, it's roots. So really, to view the tree upright, you're looking at it like this. So he is still technically, magically sort of inverted on the tree. I think that's so brilliant. But the tree is reversed, up is down, down is up, and we are so confused as the world turns on its head, as we find mental freedom and transcend the norms and limitations of our minds and of our world. The hangman for me sometimes is even that moment when you have to extricate yourself or extract yourself from, say, a group of people that you're with, because conversation has turned or things have gotten a bit negative, or a little materialistic, and you have you have to isolate yourself, and it's a little sad, you know. It's like it's a little sacrifice, but it's for the best. It's a sacrifice for yourself, to your higher self, and it's because you view things differently. You view things sort of upside down from the other way around, from the perspective of spirit, not of matter. That's why I love that. Don't you guys love that? Just that simple act of spinning the hanged man around and around, turning him on his head. It's a wonderful exercise. Do you guys do that? That was the hangman. The runes around the hangman, by the way, just representing all of the energies of life and existence. It's really like picturing, to me anyway, like picturing there's all the cards of the major arcana. Okay, and next up we have number 13, our death card. And I really like this card too. It's obviously, you know, just like a lot of death cards, it's fearful, it's frightening, you know, and it talks about our fears of change and our fear of death and our fear of transformation. Or talking about transformation in general, what change is, what is there to be scared of. I really enjoy, I think it's kind of cool, like there's this scary sort of cauldron with shit going on and a full bright moon above it, sort of stacked on a bunch of skeletal heads, and the pentagram is inverted, and his scythe is hanging right above it. It's very frightful. There's even a symbol of Saturn hanging from his scythe. Time and destruction and death. Time gets us all. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be another symbol hanging from there. Can you guys see that? I don't know what that is. If anybody knows what that is, if it's supposed to be something, it's going to be something obvious, isn't it? I like that there's a bell there too, like the bell tolls. And this I find wonderful too. All these deathly creatures or whatever they are, but I like that there's this face here, and it's not, I mean, it could be like the flesh of a face, it could be a mask. Either way, it's saying the same thing. If it is a fleshy skin torn off, it's symbolic of this personalities that we wear and the masks that we wear, and the removal, you know, of them in order to transform. Don't fear change. And number 14 is Temperance. It's a very Hermes mercurial temperance. Beautiful. Field of tulips. He's got 1 foot on the water, 1 foot on land. Looks like he's pouring wine back and forth. His winged hat, his caduceus on his arms. He's got two spirals on the jugs that he's pouring back and forth. He's really a classic, very classic looking temperance. This self-control, self-domination, self-rule. He's got the will to overcome, do the work. The devil card. How cool is that? It does get this is probably the most fantastical looking card, really. You still have your, I guess he's sort of androgynous looking devil. He looks a bit more masculine, I guess. He doesn't have the breasts or anything. But he's got a serpent underneath. He's got bat wings and giant horns, and he's very skeletal with these red eyes. Oh, he's so wonderfully creepy. Almost looks, that's the part that makes me feel a bit more feminine, like he's corseted in there or something. You have the two figures chained by their desires, you could say, to the pedestal of the devil. I love that they're a bit more animalistic. The woman is sort of a mermaid, fishy looking kind of thing, and the dude is very pig-like, and they're a bit gluttonous looking, I guess. The male is tied with a regular, or chained with a regular chain, and the female figure there, can you see that? She's chained with a chain of flowers, like just get up and walk away. He's in a very similar pose to classic devil, right? As above, so below, a similar pose. He really looks much more like the magicians, as above, so below, in this deck. And it's that salve et coagula sort of thing. Everything is just red and flaming and scary. And this card definitely, again, it seems to focus a bit more on the negative, frightening aspects of separateness, isolation, loneliness in matter. Maybe this frustration and this denial of what you are. One of the things I do really, really love about this card, however, is sort of what's going on up here. You see that symbol, that spiral with a cross through it, as if to remind us that behind all matter, even when you can't see it, even when you don't feel it, you have access to the eternal. It only exists because of spirit, because of the eternal. I'm not sure what really is going in his hand there, if it's a coin or just a gold, or I feel like it's supposed to be, sort of this another monad symbol, like above is unity consciousness is accessible to us once we've gone through our journey into its darkest places. I guess you could say even this terrifying fire behind the devil is sort of symbolic of that great energy at work also. The lovers have gone to the devil, oh boy. And now is time for our awakening, our tower. It really is sort of a classic tower card too, with these wonderful lightning bolts striking the tower. There's a big bell up there that's ringing as it falls. We have a lot more people on this card, which is interesting. These two people are climbing out of the tower at the bottom. One person is falling. And even, can you see that? It's a woman who lost her crown. Her crown is falling off, like you find in some other decks, the Oswald Worth. There's another dude down here that I can't decide what I think about him. If he's trying to help them get out, or if he's like attacking them. It almost looks like he's helping tear the stones off of the tower because of where his staff or whatever is touching. They look a little scared of him. They don't look like he's helping them. So I don't know if this dude's on it's like an emissary from God, helping sort of attack and break down what we have constructed for ourselves. Our personality, our ego, the masks that we wear. In this card, right, those masks are pulled off. What we have created for ourselves, the lies we have created for ourselves, or the things that made us feel comfortable and safe but aren't real, are destroyed. It's an awakening. It's a beautiful card. Again, this card, though, like most tarot cards, though, just pull you towards that scary sort of moment. It's very evocative of isolation and separateness, just like I sort of felt like I saw in the Devil card. And it's all about, undefining yourself to free yourself. Tearing down and looking behind what is manifest, what you have created for yourself, reveals what is behind it, what is real, what is immortal, the spirit behind matter, in matter, just like we saw before. But yeah, you're tearing down your concepts, the ideas of yourself and of your world. It's an awakening to truth and the acceptance of it. But if you fear change, just like we saw in the Death card, it will feel like a total and utter collapse. And if you want to remain in darkness, the same as everyone else, then this is a challenge card. But on the other hand, if you're ready to transform and evolve, this is evolution in action right here, and you're ready to let go of your desires and not take life too seriously, sort of the opposite of what this card looks like, you're ready for what's next, and that's a beautiful step. That was a lot of talking about the tower. Here is your star card. Interesting. It's an interesting star card. She looks very Egyptian. She's clothed, first of all. Normally the star card is a nude woman. as, you know, naked as the day you came. Natural and purified. But I like the Egyptian garb. It's sort of, the whole thing just reminded me of, there's a big ram's head on your dress, I didn't even notice that. And sort of the godhead coming out of her head, like a pharaoh god on a throne. I don't know if that's supposed to be something specific. But what I sort of saw right off the bat was these lotuses down here again. And it's true to what we said before. It's this beauty and light from darkness and chaos. But it also, because of her Egyptian lookingness, reminds me of the story of the birth of Amun-Ra, this dual god in the Egyptian pantheon, who was birthed from lotuses. Like a lotus gave birth to the god Amun-Ra on the primordial ocean. So it's a flower or a plant also of immortality and resurrection and knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Lotuses are also sort of reborn in the light. It's a flower that opens and closes with the light of the sun. And of course Amun-Ra, Ra being the god of the sun, and Amun being, so it can be sort of a darkness thing, but it's his truth also. So you get both sides of the coin there, this hidden aspect. But I think it's very sort of appropriate symbols for the star card here, with all its connotations of hope and purification, and guidance even. Okay, I'm done. Star. Here's our gorgeous moon card. When I first looked at this card, I mean, the thing that jumps out at me was like, oh Jesus, it's just a giant, like, maiden, mother, crone, triple goddess symbol. But the more you sit with this, the more you see that there is quite a bit more going on here. It's still pretty much a classic Rider-Waite-Smith Marseille looking card. You have your crayfish climbing out of the water at the bottom, with an ankh on his back. How great is that? A symbol of infinity, immortality, resurrection. There's even a lovely cube in the path here. You have a wolf and a dog, very clearly a wolf and a dog. Like the little dachshund, he's so cute. You still have your two towers, still have your path, you still have the water droplets coming from the moon. Excuse me, and for me, most importantly, you still have an eclipse. You have the sun's rays shining through from behind this gorgeous full moon. And I feel like even the moons are what's sitting on top of the towers here, even though they're in their crescent forms, you know, like the fullness of it is topping the towers. So here in the moon card, right, you're walking that dreaded, that frightening, terrifying path, past through the things that we've created ourselves. Past the guardians. The crayfish is wearing the ankh because he will, I don't know, sort of shed his shell. You know, it's just a shell, as he grows past it, beyond it, willing to leave the old behind and to change. This is the test. Walking through this dark cube of solidity, matter. He's sort of like what you see at the bottom of the Thoth card, right? With that scarab and that reincarnation and transformation of the scarab. And you see the eclipse in every other, in most other decks, the Rider-Waite-Smith, the Thoth, the Marseille, all, you have that eclipse. I like that they left that symbolism intact, so that makes me happy. And on to our beautiful sun card. Oh, it's so pretty. Lots and lots of sunflowers. Here's another little lightning there in the background too. There's a lightning hitting that ship. Where is that lightning coming from? Either way, it is a divine message from above. Lightning strikes, like he struck the magician, like he struck the tower, striking again here in the sun card. as you attain your enlightenment here in the Sun card, and everything is happy and wonderful. You have two little children here, like you do on a lot of. I like that that's here, as opposed to the Rider-Waite-Smith, where you just have the one baby. I like that we've gone back to this older Marseille influence thing with a light and a dark, and the children are. One is lighter skinned and one is darker skinned. I like that the woman is weaving golden threads. Is it hair? Maybe it's hair. But weaving a tapestry together. But I like the two because it's the two halves of ourself. You know, whenever you see a couple like this, like in the Lover's card or in the Devil card, you know, the lovers in the Lover's card aren't necessarily two different people, right? They're two sides of a coin. They're two sides of ourselves, our anima, our animus, our spirit, matter, active, passive, all that shit. And that's what is here again, united, the twins. However, now they are made childlike and innocent again. You know, they look at the world as if, you know, you look at the world again as if you are a child with a sense of awe and wonder about the world around you. Right? We always say that's the goal. We're trying to cultivate a childlikeness within us. They're desireless children, babies. You know, it's like you've traveled that spiral again. You're back to the beginning, but at a higher level. You know, you're not actually a baby again. You just have a new child born again within you. Children have a great awareness, don't they? They experience life without judgment and a great deal of openness. They don't take life too seriously. Sunflowers I love here. I think they're always very appropriate. They follow the sun. They turn to gaze upon the sun as it makes its way across the sky. Okay, here is our Judgment card. Very much like this phoenix rising from the ashes. It's a very different way to picture or to illustrate the Judgment card. You know, they're not rising from the graves, but you still have someone rising from the fire, sort of separating out what is light and what is spiritual from what is dense and what is dead or gross or materialistic. Again, this is the magician's hand with the wand in it, sort of controlling everyone or controlling everything, making things happen, is a nice little touch. I think it's a very pretty card. Again, I love the gnarly old trees and all these images, and a crescent moon again. Judgment. And here is our world card. I'd say it's not one of my favorite cards. It looks a bit plain, I feel like, compared to the other ones. But the symbolism is gorgeous. Here, again, you have different than before, but alchemical symbols for all four seasons: fall, winter, summer, and spring. I love this sort of a yin-yang up here, this half light and sun, and half dark and lunar. Circle at the top. And you still have your classic mandorla, almond-shaped womb-like thing, the gateway through which we come when we are birthed into this life, and our exit on our way out. We finally get our naked lady here, who's holding all sorts of stuff. She's got a candle burning from both ends. It's like a transformation, right? It's creation, it's destruction, it's all in her hand. I'm not sure what she's holding here, if it's like mistletoe or looks very golden. And this wave of water instead of that sort of tapestry about her. Okay, so that is the end of our major arcana. I'm going to move a bit more swiftly through the minor arcana. Here we have our wands, which in this case are associated with air and the season of autumn. And like I said, you can see the sort of these fiery colors in the changing of the leaves, which makes the elemental swap a bit easier to digest if you choose to sort of ignore it and not pay attention to it, because I think it is actually very doable with this deck. Because it's so, I don't know, it's just easy. It's not bad. Don't go too crazy. Here is your Two of Wands, and you see your yin yang or yin yang symbol. Here is the amazing Three of Wands, but you see that really air, like there's lots of birds in all these cards, and there's wind just blowing everywhere, which just makes all the clothes look amazingly gorgeous. There's your Triquetra, like we talked about, which is almost to the 3s. On the 4s, you have squares, which you see, I think, really just here on her cloak here, but this classic 4 of Wands, that I love that this is the card that they made into sort of a lesbian card, because that's sort of what it looks like is happening on the Rider-Waite-Smith card. I always enjoy that, but it's a hand fasting with 2 women, and their celebration. Here's your 5 of Wands, and where do you have it? You have a little pentagram on the dude's necklace there. And they're sort of doing their play fight thing, or, you know, attacking the bees. There's these great little twists, and there's something interesting going on in all the cards. And look, too, like there's different looking people on the card. Yeah, it's nice to see. Here in the 6, you have that, that sort of, there's a name for this kind of a star. I forget what it is, that cool hexagram. Instead of the classic two intersecting triangles, but you do see that on some of the other 6s, I think. Doesn't the 6 look like it should sort of be the 7? That gave me a bit of confusion at first. I'm like, oh, she's being attacked, like defend yourself with the higher ground kind of thing that you would see on the 7 of Wands, but it's really more that that victory march, you know. They're just sort of like, hail, you know, thank you. 7 of Wands, there is your sort of higher ground, this, I've done this. 8, you get your wands flying through the air. Is there, yep, you get your 8-pointed star on the bird there. Where was the 7? Oh yeah, and your triangle in the square on the 7. And your 9-pointed star at the bottom here. I like this for that soldier card. She's powerful, very witchy, like her. Your 10 of Wands, and your monad symbol is there on the wheel. Here is your Page of Wands. Those birds, those are the birds in my backyard. Your knights, all the knights are on really cool, like ginormous animals. It's just so cool. It's on like a big hawk. Is that a hawk? Flying through the sky. But it seems very fiery still. Like, I think she did that on purpose. Here is your Queen of Wands. And your King of Wands. For the most part, there's one person depicted on each of the court cards, but there's 2 cards, I think, in the cups and the pentacle suits. 2 court cards, one from each suit, that actually have multiple people on it, which is a nice change of pace. Your Ace of Cups with all your fish, and you'll see frogs and aquatic wildlife. That giant cup. It's really very pretty. See what I mean? There's some almost distressing, harsher sort of images in the majors, and in the minors, everything really is a bit more easy to look at. Here is another one of the cards I love. It's the classic 2 of Cups, you know, that couple card, and it's 2 men, and it's just a lovely change of pace. And a really beautiful card, and they're still representing, you know, the 2 different sides of duality with the two different colored cloaks. Even their 2 skin colors sort of complement and contrast each other. The 3 of Cups, not just 3 women, you have 2 women, it looks like, and a man, who's to say, worshipping the goddess. They have their Triquetra symbols. Was there yin-yangs here? Oh, you don't actually see a specific yin-yang here anywhere, but the belts that they're both wearing seem to be sort of getting at the same idea. Can you see that? Especially the blue one, it looks very much like, there it is, the flow of the yin-yang into each other. 4 of Cups, you don't actually have a square here technically, but the cups are arranged in a square way. You have A Cancer crab up here, traditionally associated with these cards in the cups, the Four of Cups. The Five of Cups, you have a pentagram on the back here. You have some spilled wine, very classic. Six of Cups, you actually have the classic the Solomon seal style, two interlocking triangles in the little boy's shovel there. A very sweet card. I like that interpretation. The two children playing, being looked on by, I don't know, grandparents or an older couple. The triangle and the square for the Seven of Cups. Each cup being represented by one of the 7 traditional planets. I love all the turtles in the cups too, because I just love turtles. Here's your 8-pointed star with actually a monad symbol at the center of it. I love that. And kind of a traditional, is it really? I mean, it has some of the same things going on with stacked cups and the sort of hooded figure walking away under the moonlight. But I like that he's at an altar, and it really still have the same feeling as the Rider-Waite-Smith. Oh, I love this card, the genie on the wish card for the 9 of Cups. The wish card, the happiness card. Yeah, that works really good there. Is there... Oh, and on the genie's wrap, you have the classic 9-pointed star. And then the 10 of Cups, you have 2 monad symbols here around the rainbow, that messenger angelic symbol. And I like the backs of their robes have the phases of the moon, the full, the new, or the dark, and the waxing and the waning crescent moons. And a turtle! Here's one of the court cards that has more than one person on it. And I really like where they went with this card with the Page of Cups. You know, you have a big moon right above his head here. It's this joyfulness, this femininity. Also represented by the fact that he's enjoying a good drink and there's another couple, or they're all in a relationship, whatever the case may be. There's a bit of decadence to what's going on here. It's seductive. They're playing. They're having fun. Not taking life too seriously. I feel like I've said that a few times when talking about this deck, but I like that it gets at things like that. There's something a bit reminds me of like Dionysus or Bacchus about this card. It's this sweet romantic part of ourselves. Utilizing feminine wiles and things like that, but it's in a positive, joyful way. I mean, the reversal of the card could take you to that other place, but it's not necessarily going there. A lot of times I think when sex and drinking and enjoyment of life and feeling free and alive are depicted in art and sometimes in tarot cards, it automatically goes to a negative place. You can have a spiritual life, I think, and still enjoy your life. That's what that card makes me think. I like that one. Your Knight of Cups, he's riding on a giant fish. He's very happy. This card doesn't necessarily make me think of how I normally picture my Knight of Cups, though. Maybe it's because you can't see his face. But he is having an awful lot of fun flapping around in the water. He just doesn't feel super romantic to me, which is fine. He's cool. He's cool. Here is our Queen of Cups. I like that she's just barefoot in the puddle, long dark hair. Her moon throne. They're just beautiful, beautiful images. Your King of Cups with his porpoise dolphin throne. And onto the swords, which are fire here. This one is by far the one that it's like, whoa, every time I look at it, I'm like, Ace of Wands. But, you know, just keep in mind that things are a little different. This is your Ace of Swords. And the wolf features prominently in this suit. However, the landscape is high up in the mountains in the winter, so it really can take you to that airy place if you want to go there very, very easily. The only fire in this card is the 2 candles. She's got a great yin-yang on her shirt and a wolf following behind her. There's a very Nordic feel to the suit of swords in this deck, even though everyone's skin colors isn't necessarily like Germanic or anything. This is another one of my favorite cards in the deck. Isn't she just to die for? Love her. Even the very classic 3 of Swords here, I think, is really cool. You have your Triquetra in the center, reminding you this is a 3, and the fire of the heart burning is really coming from this solar image. And I like that it's even in the night sky. It's this not just a gray, cloudy sky. It's at night. With a wolf howling in the distance, and it's a real heart too, not just the shape of a classic heart. Your 4 of Swords. You do have squares sort of scattered about in the imagery here on the collars of the wolves or the dogs here, but still, even though it's arranged sort of differently, you're still doing the same thing as kind of in the Rider-Waite-Smith. 5 of Swords. I like that this dude is, you don't see anybody else he's fighting, but there are swords in the ground here. He looks very Nordic, Viking-esque. I love it. And he's got a pentagram on the back of his cloak. Up next we have the 6 of Swords. This is another one of my favorite cards, actually. It's just... there's something about this deck that adding these little symbols and the way that it's been reimagined really makes you take another look at this imagery that I get, unfortunately, just so used to that I don't question anymore. It's been a fun rediscovery of what's going on in the Rider-Waite-Smith for me. I like that this guy here has the symbol, the driver has the symbol of the sun, or the monad above his head, and he's ferrying this woman, and whatever's in that box, you know, the sciences perhaps, or hope, to the shore. It's just all themes that run through this card for me, that you start to forget the associations of what's going on there, because I just get so used to the image, and this, for some reason, just feels like a fresh take on it to me, because the symbolism is intact and certain things you're being drawn to. Anyway, here's your 7 of Swords, your thief in the night from the sleeping wolves. Your 8 of Swords, very powerful looking. He's got the star on his chest there, the 8-pointed star, and 2 symbols of the monad on his arms crossed. 9 of Swords. He's sad. He's a bit sad. The 9-pointed star on his hood there. And again, sort of a classic 10 of Swords you depict with that classic death. And he's got the symbol on the 10 again of the monad, but it's there's rays of light coming out of it. It looks like a sun with a dot in the center. You know, beautiful. It's that transformation and that return. Here's your Page of Swords. The giant sword. Such a gorgeous card. Knight of Swords, riding a giant white buffalo, or bull buffalo. And her Queen of Swords with her bull there too. And your King of Swords has a lovely giant wolf at his feet, very Odin looking. Here's your Ace of Pentacles. Like I said, you see squirrels all about this final suit here. Here is your 2 of Pentacles. You see ships on the Rider-Waite-Smith too, but I love that there's ships in the background of a lot of these cards. Very cool. His dog bringing him his lunch as he balances precariously on a log, trying to balance or juggle his 2 pentacles. 3 of Pentacles. I really like this one too. There's a lot of symbolism in the deck with these cut open apples to reveal what or the pattern beneath things. You know, he's teaching, he's imparting, and they are listening and they are learning. It's both sides of that process. The little squirrel learning too. You know, we lend a bit of ourselves to lower creatures, to other creatures. They're inspired. You know, we inspire them, they inspire us. Four of Pentacles, you see your square there? Like that he's sort of hoarding things just like a squirrel sort of does, and they hide their nuts. Your Five of Pentacles here. Pentacle on the lock on the door. Your Six of Pentacles. You have that classic two interlocking triangles on the cup of the guy in the back. Something about this that feels a bit more ritualistic, you know, receiving this food and being thankful for it, giving and receiving. Seven of Pentacles, right there on the planter is your square and a triangle. And she's watering this plant that actually has crystals in it or growing from it, which is just very interesting. Your Eight of Pentacles. Looks always sort of, I feel like it's supposed to be like the Four of Discs, the Four of Pentacles. It looks a bit more like that. Like they're hoarding sort of everything in here, but really it's that working, building card. He's building this little doghouse full of treasures. And instead of the classic 8-pointed star, you actually on the bags here just get this symbol. It's sort of like that old Hagalaz rune with a horizontal line through it also. So you get 8. Nothing is even that I draw today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. But that's on the, see that there? On the bags at the bottom. Focus, there we go. Your Nine of Pentacles. I like the squirrel instead of the bird, a happy lady in the garden. I don't necessarily see a 9-pointed star, but you do have your triple goddess symbol there. And then the 10, you have your monad symbol hidden there on her basket. Just get that happy family in the 10 of Pentacles. And here is your Page of Pentacles. And your Knight riding a giant squirrel. Oh my god, I friggin' love. Look at her acorn sort of flag. So neat looking. Your Queen of Pentacles. Very fertile. And so is your King. Here's that other core card that actually has other people on it. Very Dionysus feeling. Is very abundant and fertile and creative and earthy. Love and life. Again, you know, it doesn't feel like overly sexualized to the point where it becomes something negative like you would see on the Devil card. Like that's not what this is. This is a happy image. As is most of the stack. Very happy. There goes our happy fool. Oh my god. Okay, we got through them all. The last thing I want to say is that the cards are super easy to shuffle, but they are also very thin. It's one of those Llewellyn decks. I've definitely already bent some of the cards, but it shuffles real easy, and I don't have to be careful. I riffle shuffle pretty much everything. But they bend fantastic, so they bridge wonderfully. Nothing gets stuck together. But yeah, I do feel like if I wouldn't have to try very hard to rip one of the cards. And they already have little nicks and notches all over them, and little bends everywhere just from picking it up and putting it down. But it's still in pretty good shape, and hopefully it will continue to be in good shape. Oh, one more thing before I go. I'll put the links that I've mentioned down below. I'll put a link to some of the sites where you can get some information about this deck and buy this deck. And I also am going to put a link below to, what is the name of this website? I'm pulling it up. It is called, I don't know how you say it, EliLSmercantile.com. But anyway, this guy, I think it's a gentleman, has this great blog. He really comes from a Thoth kind of tarot perspective. But it's a comparison of the Thoth deck to the modern Spellcaster's tarot. And it's a fascinating exploration. I'll definitely put a link below if you guys want to check that out. So I want to thank you guys for taking this little journey with me through the through the modern Spellcaster's tarot. It's a really fun deck. I've had a lot of fun. I filled up the end of my notebook just writing about this deck. And I didn't expect to love it as much as I have. Again, apologies for the lack of videos lately. So I appreciate your patience as I get through this little crazy hump in life. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Mwah. I'll see you real soon. Bye.